He sat alone at the small kitchen table, staring at the single, slightly deflated balloon that clung to the ceiling, wondering how another birthday had crept up without anyone noticing. The cake in front of him was untouched, a tiny store-bought chocolate one with just 3 candles, flickering softly in the dim light. Outside, the world was alive with the usual weekend chatter, children playing, neighbors laughing, and yet inside, silence pressed down like a heavy, unwelcome weight. He poked at the frosting with a fork, thinking about the years that had passed and how birthdays had become just another day, another quiet reminder that life sometimes left him invisible. Then, a soft giggle broke the silence, so delicate it sounded almost like it had floated through the cracks in the door. He froze, wondering if he had imagined it, and turned slowly. 3 small faces peeked around the corner, eyes wide and curious, carrying a secret that would change everything in ways he could never have predicted. Before we dive into this heartwarming story, take a moment to subscribe to True Kindness Tales. Join our family of viewers who celebrate the simple, beautiful acts that remind us of the goodness in people. If this story touches your heart, like it, and share your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing your experiences with kindness too. He had never thought of himself as lonely, at least not until moments like these. He was a single dad, working 2 jobs in a modest suburban neighborhood, always trying to balance bills, school runs, and the constant hum of responsibilities. His life revolved around work schedules and errands, and somehow, birthdays had become another task to check off the calendar rather than a celebration. Today should have been different. It was his 42nd birthday, a day he quietly hoped might be noticed, maybe with a phone call or a card slipped under the door. But so far, the day had passed with nothing more than the faint smell of coffee and chocolate lingering in the air. He sighed and took another bite of cake, the sweetness doing little to fill the emptiness he felt. Then the giggling came again, soft but insistent, followed by tiny footsteps that grew closer. He looked up and finally saw them, 3 little girls, all around 6 or 7 years old, huddled together like they had been planning something secretive. They weren't his daughters. He had never imagined strangers could bring warmth into a house like this, yet there they were, shyly holding hands as if drawing courage from each other. They didn't say a word at first, just stared with big, hopeful eyes. And then one of them, the smallest with curly brown hair, whispered, "Pretend you're our mom today." The words hung in the air, fragile and earnest, and he blinked, caught off guard by the sudden tenderness of the moment. He had no idea what compelled these children to say this, but something inside him shifted, a soft, aching recognition of a longing he hadn't allowed himself to admit. He managed a nervous smile and asked gently, "Why would you want me to do that?" The girls exchanged glances and then shrugged, their innocence making the gesture feel weighty and sincere. "Because you look lonely," the tallest said softly, her blue eyes wide, "and moms make everything better." That hit him in a way he couldn't articulate. It wasn't about a birthday anymore, it wasn't about a cake or candles, it was about feeling seen, about someone noticing that beneath the tired routines and quiet resilience, there was a person who needed connection, even if just for a day. He swallowed hard, feeling his throat tighten with emotion he had tried for years to ignore. The girls climbed up onto the chairs beside him, careful not to knock over the cake. They pulled him into a gentle hug, and for the first time that day, he laughed, a sound that felt strange to his own ears after so much silence. They began helping him blow out the candles, cheering softly as the flames flickered and vanished, and he realized he had never experienced a birthday like this in years. Their small hands clapped against his, their voices blending into a melody of innocence and joy that filled the room in a way no adult presence ever had. It was chaotic, messy, and beautiful, and he felt a warmth spreading through his chest that he hadn't felt in a long time. The simple act of being noticed, of being included in something bigger than himself, cracked open a part of him he thought had long been sealed off. As they ate cake together, the girls began asking him questions about his life, what he liked to do, and what kind of movies he enjoyed. They were curious about everything, and he found himself answering without hesitation, sharing stories that he had never told anyone in years. They listened with rapt attention, nodding and gasping at the right moments, and he realized that he was laughing not out of habit but because it was genuine. They talked about school, favorite toys, and silly little secrets, and each word they spoke wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. The air seemed lighter, filled with a sense of home that had nothing to do with walls or furniture and everything to do with presence, attention, and care. It was as though these 3 little strangers had arrived just to remind him that life still had magic left to offer, that human connection was always possible even in the quietest, loneliest corners. He asked them gently, "Why are you here? Don't you have moms and dads waiting at home?" They shook their heads and whispered that they had been sent by a neighbor, someone who noticed him sitting alone year after year and thought he could use some company. The revelation surprised him. Someone had been quietly looking out for him without making a fuss. It made him realize how little acts of kindness could ripple through lives in ways that were invisible but profound. His heart swelled with gratitude not just for the girl's presence but for the unseen neighbor who had orchestrated this moment. Suddenly, his own loneliness seemed less like a weight and more like a bridge, connecting him to people who genuinely cared, even in small, quiet ways. The girls weren't content to just sit and talk, they wanted to help decorate his kitchen, which meant glitter on the countertops, streamers that tangled and twisted, and balloons that bounced across the floor. He watched them, laughing as they got glue stuck in their hair and stickers on their cheeks, and felt something he hadn't felt in years, pure, unself-conscious joy. Their enthusiasm was infectious, and he joined in without thinking, stringing up the colorful paper chains and arranging balloons until the kitchen looked like a tiny celebration wonderland. Each moment they shared, each laugh and giggle, chipped away at the invisible walls he had built around himself. He realized that kindness, even in its simplest form, had the power to heal, to reconnect, and to make life feel meaningful again. After a while, one of the girls leaned her head against his shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for being our mom today." The words struck him deeply, more than he could ever put into sentences. He felt tears prick his eyes, not from sadness but from the overwhelming sense of being seen, being valued, and being human. He whispered back that they had given him the best birthday gift he could imagine, a gift far beyond cake or decorations, a reminder that love and kindness existed in the world, even when it seemed hidden. They stayed until sunset, playing board games, reading storybooks, and telling tales that left him laughing until his cheeks hurt. By the time they left, the house was a mess, sticky with frosting and strewn with glitter, but it didn't matter. It was alive with memory, warmth, and the quiet joy of connection. The next day, he walked through the neighborhood and noticed small gestures he had ignored before, a wave from a neighbor, a smile from a passerby, a child running with a ball. The world suddenly felt larger, more vibrant, more connected, and he understood that kindness wasn't about grand gestures or recognition, it was about noticing, showing up, and creating moments that mattered. He thought about the Triplet girls and their whispered request, realizing that in asking him to pretend to be their mom for a day, they had given him the chance to reconnect with his own heart, to feel alive and valued again. Every moment of attention, every tiny act of care, had a ripple effect, touching lives in ways no one could predict. From that day forward, birthdays were never quiet or lonely again. He invited neighbors over, reached out to friends, and even started volunteering at local schools and community centers, bringing small joys to people he had never met. And in every laugh, every shared story, he felt the echo of those little girls and their courage to reach out to a stranger. Their kindness had sparked a chain of hope and compassion, reminding him that the world was full of good people who, even unknowingly, could change lives. He carried that lesson in his heart, a quiet promise to never underestimate the power of a small gesture, a whisper of care, or the magic of simply noticing someone in need. Looking back now, he understands that the most meaningful gifts aren't wrapped in paper or tied with bows. They are found in moments of genuine human connection, in acts of kindness that cost nothing but mean everything. A small, heartfelt gesture can lift a person from loneliness into joy, from invisibility into warmth. The memory of those 3 little girls whispering for him to pretend to be their mom stays with him every year, a reminder that life's brightest moments often come from the simplest, most unexpected acts. And as he shares his story, he hopes it inspires others to notice the quiet hearts around them, to offer time, attention, and kindness without expectation, and to understand that every gentle gesture has the potential to change a life forever. If you've ever experienced a moment where someone's kindness lifted you in ways you never imagined, share it in the comments. Your story could be the spark that reminds someone else that hope, love, and connection are always within reach. This birthday, like every day since, became a celebration of life's quiet miracles, a testament to the power of simple human kindness, and a lasting reminder that when we open our hearts, even strangers can teach us the most profound lessons about love, family, and the joy of being seen.